Hello fine internet people, this is SC2 Noob School and I am Trebus and you are watching day 1 of Bronze to Diamond Protoss week this time. I tallied up all the votes and a lot of you guys wanted to see Protoss, so that's what we're doing. Today is Monday, so we're in the Bronze League. So it's going to be a little bit different this week. If you watched my previous Zerg week, there was a lot of emphasis on scouting and drone timing and stuff like that. Protoss is a little different. We're going to be very much more concerned with the actual build order that's happening. So we're going to be looking at that in a little more depth than we were with Zerg. Okay, so in this game we're going to see something that is very unfortunate that it happens. Basically it is Victator trying to do what probably is a build that he's seen from a lot of other really good Protoss players. And there's a couple little gaps of logic that happen here, and it makes this build really inappropriate. So what Victator is doing here is he's going for the standard Forge expansion against the Zerg. Fine, great, good build. The problem here is that we're going to see him invest so much money into getting this wall off on this giant ramp right here that he's actually going to be very far behind even a one base Zerg. And Zerg is actually going to be able to just crush him a little bit later. So looking at the build order, we had constant probe production until I guess this gateway and photon cannon start coming up. And I just want to talk about the efficiencies of everything that's going on here. Okay, so photon cannon. Do we need a photon cannon right now? Well, there's not really anything coming. We actually made a scouting mistake of not looking behind the minerals, so I'm assuming that Victator thought this was a hatch first, making this cannon pretty irrelevant. The other thing is, two of these gateways are really not going to be used very much right now. You can see the probe count is suffering from building all these buildings, and we haven't even gotten the Nexus out. Building another cannon. You're going to see, as I'm going through probably bronze, silver, and gold, just talking a lot about whether a building is doing anything for you or not. So let's look at all these buildings that are actually doing nothing for us. Photon cannon is not protecting us from anything. There's only 2 Zerglings coming in. Each of these gateways, yeah, it's contributing to a wall off, but it's not even a full wall off, so it's actually not doing anything for us right now. And in order to actually get this wall off up, yeah, it's going to take just way too many buildings, and it's not going to be efficient. So I think what Victator was doing here was just seeing what a pro player can do with a wall off, and however not really understanding himself how to do it. And it's turning out to be a very bad thing for his macro and for his general build order. You can see because of all the buildings we're making here, we're falling behind on supply because we're not making probes. We can't use our chrono boost because we're just out of money from making all these buildings, and none of these buildings are doing anything for us. So clearly not a good thing right now. I would say if you're going to go, this is not a great map for this kind of an expansion. If you are going to go for it, I would do something more like building your pylon and then forge and then nexus and then gateway, and build kind of a wall between your nexus and your ramp, and that would be a lot more efficient than building all this stuff here that takes so much money to make an actual wall off here. So it's very, very ineffective. I think for bronze to probably gold league players, I would recommend highly against not doing the forge fast expand, because it's one of those builds that you really have to try to get away with making as little as possible, right? So if we had been able to do a forge expand without getting both of these 2 second gateways, the cybernetics core, maybe taking out a cannon or something, then yeah, we'd be in pretty good shape. We could have spent all this money on more probes and stuff, but doing this type of expand is just absolutely killing our economy, and it's making it so that look how far behind we are in supply right now. We've got 24 probes to 22 drones. When we took a faster expansion than the Zerg player has already done teching. He's already at lair. He's getting baneling speed. He's got roaches. His expansion is just now coming up, and we have an expansion that was only really recently saturated. Obviously, missing drones, another problem. And you're just going to see this get punished, and honestly, it would have been much better to just wall off at our ramp, get all these exact same buildings, but just go for like, or not the forge, cut out the forge and the cannons, but just get your gas, start getting some sentries and zealots out, and then go for the expansion later. Getting this expansion, Victator probably thought was a nice little advantage to him to have that sooner, but it's actually not. It's really pulling him down and making things a lot more difficult. So this is a pretty straightforward game. What's going to come in here? Well, it's going to be a lot of banelings. There go the banelings, and just because of the lack of units here, if we had had 3 or 4 more sentries out, then perhaps this could have been salvaged, but just busting through the wall, roaches all over the place, and there we go. Gonna lose this game. So the motto of this game is do not try to attempt strategies that are higher level than you're capable of pulling off. The things you should focus on just in Bronze League is just making sure your buildings are always doing something. So make sure you're always building stuff from your Nexus. You're always having your gateways be active. If you make a robotics and Stargate or any of that stuff, try to keep those buildings constantly active, and you're basically going to just macro your way to victory, and your games won't look like this. I'm actually going to do another replay real quick, so stick around for that. Alright, here we are. We are watching Victator again, and this time we're going to see him go for a much more just ordinary kind of opening, and this opening actually would have been much better against the Zerg player we just saw. I'm going to go through this really quick because honestly, at probably Bronze and Silver League, the answer to why you're losing games is it's like right now. There's no probes coming out, so you're getting behind on probes. That's why you're going to lose the game most likely. If you can, even if you can spend all your money, if you're having stretches of time where you're losing probes, then you know, you're just going to be behind. That's the gist of it. So we're going to see here just a ordinary looking, well, somewhat ordinary looking 3 gateway expand with a bunch of stalkers. And this is going to actually turn out really well. The reason I wanted to go over this replay real quick is just look at a couple little decision-making aspects. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of the build order quite yet, but there is some, there are some decision-making flaws that happen here that I think are valuable to look at. So we can see Protoss player did a good job of scouting the Terran. He saw the one gas, and then a second ago he just, I think it was a probe got up there and just saw nothing but Marines, so you can pretty much assume there's going to be some kind of tech behind this. And we're just going to continue on with our game plan like normal. We've got our 3 gateways up, we've got some nice room in our supply to start making some stalkers, and we're just going to make some stalkers. I'm going to keep going fast forwarding here to the little decision making aspect that I wanted to point out, and hopefully some of you Bronze players can get a little bit of wisdom out of this and use this in your own game. Okay, so Victator, he has made Victator, I don't know. He's made his gateways, he's pumping out a bunch of stalkers, he's pushing out with his Nexus. This is great. This is great expansion timing. A good time to expand is as you're attacking, or a little before you're attacking. Put on some pressure and then expand is a great move. Now, what we're going to see here is just, okay, there's no expansion here. The Terran player has not expanded yet. Maybe he's got a command center in there, but, you know, probably not. Who knows? So there's really actually no reason to go into this and attack right now. We could just keep our stalkers right here, deny any expansion that's going to come out. If Marines or something try to come out, we can kite them. There's no reason to try to break the Terran player right here. We have a macro advantage. We're going to have a Nexus up before their second command center's down. So there's just no reason to attack, and this is going to be a severe fault for the Protoss player. Pretty much after poking up that ramp and seeing the siege tanks, we should really just be going home and just cutting our losses at that point. So that's the first real decision-making flaw I saw there. But you know what? It's okay, because we got our expansion up, and we're going to be able to just fall back on our macro and win the game. the kind of decision that we saw happen here, had this been a higher league game, that's the kind of loss that will sometimes lose you a game. The resources loss count is pretty stacked in the Terran's favor, and that could be something that could win you a game. However, look at this nice little expansion. So we have a decent attack happen here. The Terran gets a little overly eager to counterattack after that win against the Stalkers, and ends up getting crushed just by the Protoss's reinforcements. And let's see here. There's one more little aspect that I want to point out. So here's our mentality. Oh, we just won an attack. That means we can go attack. Well, kind of. I mean, you can at least push out, but is it a good idea to actually go for a full attack? Maybe not. Okay, so what are we seeing? We're seeing that there's still not an expansion. We have an expansion. We have both of our gases up and an okay saturation of probes. Definitely could be better by using all this chrono boost. And we have some extra money, so you know that makes sense. Once again, what is the reason to attack here? There really is none. Maybe you can win the game with this attack, or maybe you can just win the game even more securely 5 minutes later after your expansion has just continued to kick in. So we're going to see this attack kind of fizzle off again, and it's another mistake that the Protoss player makes that yeah, ends up hurting his game overall. Terran player is pushing out for an expansion. These siege tanks are being very effective against this group of units. And I like the decision here to just sit at the ramp. The thing you need to be really aware of is that if you're going to sit at the ramp like this, you got to get those force fields on the ramp to be really effective. And that's something that would be difficult for really most players to do, to have that kind of reaction time. So once again, we have an instance here where we could have ran away pretty easily, could have ran away. Stalkers are faster than all these units, and yet we just donate all of our units and open ourselves up to a counterattack. Look at this supply, 52 to 43, despite getting this expansion up way faster than our Terran player. We're still not in a very secure spot, not at all. And I'm just gonna fast forward through this even more. Protoss player is going to end up winning this game, but it is not a graceful win in the slightest. Terran player going for this last final attack. He's really got no good answer to anything happening here. His expansion is so late that now the supplies are vastly in Protoss's favor. And this is going to be the final attack. So this was Protoss and Bronze. I think as we get into Silver and Gold League, I'll look more at the particulars of the build order, because right now, honestly, it's just build more probes, make more stuff, and don't make severely flawed decisions like the couple that we saw right here. Okay, stay tuned for the league that matters to you. Tomorrow is Silver, working all the way up to Diamond by Friday. Leave me a comment. Thank you for watching.